I'm Robin Walker, and thank you, Carrie, for allowing me to come into your group. Anybody who's hopping on, if you could say hello and tell us where you're from, tell us a little about yourself, that would be great. I know some of you in the group, but there's a lot of you that I haven't met. So go ahead and say hello. Also, I'll tell you a little about myself. My name's Robin Walker, and I live in southern Wisconsin near the Lake Geneva border, by the Illinois border of Lake Geneva, in Lake Geneva area. And I met Carrie because I hosted a women's business conference last month, and I met Carrie about a year ago online. Cheryl Armstrong, I didn't know you were in this group. Hi, Cheryl. How are you? Yeah, go ahead and when you guys join, feel free to say hello and tell us where you're from. So I met Carrie about a year ago online when I started looking for speakers for my women's business conference, and over the year I've gotten to know her online and just love her. And so thank you, Carrie, for having me on. So anyway, I've worked from home for about 14 years. My oldest daughter is going to turn 16 in 2 weeks, which is totally frightening to me. I have 3 kids, ages almost 16, 13, and 11. And I used to be a teacher and then stopped teaching in order to stay home with my oldest. And so since then, I've been kind of building businesses on the side. Hi, Jennifer. And have been working from home with the kids. But my husband works crazy hours over the summer because he works, we live in a touristy area, and so from about April through November even, anyone with a job that caters to the tourists is, they're working full-time all the time. So I was home alone a lot in the summers, and when the kids were really little, it was just way too stressful to try to be getting stuff done at home while I was trying to also love on my kids. Hi, Carrie. So I came up with a lot of resources over the last few years, and I still work from home in the summer, and as the kids have gotten older, it's gotten easier, but in some ways it gets a little harder because it's really tempting to just let them be on their screens all day because that's when you get stuff done. So I started a few years ago actually planning my summer ahead of time, which I know sounds like super nerdy, but it really made things so much easier. And we actually got in the things we wanted to get in for the summer for the most part. So I have some tips and I have some advice just on what's worked for our family. It may or may not work for your family, but here goes. Hi, Carrie. I don't know if I said hello or not, but thanks for having me. All right, so the first thing I always tell everybody is to plan ahead. And what we love about summer is that we don't always have to plan ahead, that you can just kind of wing it, and that's kind of the beauty of summer. But in other ways, that works for a couple weeks, and then you notice like towards the end of June, everybody's bored already. It works for a little bit, but not for very long. So I advise, even if you like the laid-back lifestyle, still plan ahead. Now is a beautiful time to start planning your summer. So I have three kind of steps you can go through to get started, and I do have other resources I can offer if you guys want to take it to another level. But first, I would gather everybody's ideas. We have everybody make a bucket list for the summer, and it can include places to go, but it also can include like maybe one of your kids really loves to read and would just love to spend a day sitting outside reading. And you think, oh, well, they'll do that anyway, but it's really good to get everything on paper. So have your kids, if they're younger, you can do this with them and you can write it down, or they can draw pictures. But ask your kids and your spouse, what are your favorite parts about summer? What do you want to for sure do this summer? What do you not want to do? We think we know our kids so well, and we do, but sometimes they'll come up with some random thing that they want to do in the summer, and we're like, oh, hey, that's a great idea. I totally forgot about Kishwaukee, and we could go hike the woods, or I didn't realize that you always wanted to go to that crazy animal place that we always drive past. And locals, you'll know what I'm talking about. But get their input, ask for their ideas. So you could do it at dinner, you could do it in the car ride home. For older kids, I always say if you don't write it down, I'm not going to plan it. So if you want to do something, you need to write it down and give it to me, or it doesn't make it on the master calendar. And that usually motivates them to, older kids, if my daughter comes to me and says, oh, can me and my friends all go to the outlet mall that's an hour away and spend the whole day there? I'd be like, no, honey, I got to work, we got stuff going on. But if she tells me that now, we can plan it ahead and have maybe all the moms and daughters go together, and I can find care for my other kids. So planning it ahead, it's easier also to say yes to some of the things your kids ask for if they ask you ahead of time than if they ask you right when you're knee deep in work or a project. And we want to say yes to those fun summer activities. So if they ask ahead of time, I know for me, I'm much more inclined to say yes if they ask me ahead of time. So what are some of the things, type in, what are some of the things that your kids love to do in the summer, or that you would anticipate that they would put on their bucket list? Because we can give each other some other ideas. Everybody's always looking for new ideas for summer. So post some of your favorite things that your kids love to do in the summer. The second step of step one is to write down your summer goals, because yours will be separate from the kids, obviously. Write down, maybe if you work from home, you might have some business goals that you want to set up ahead of time. If you work outside of the home, you might as well have some business goals, or maybe you have some household tasks that all winter you've been saying, we are cleaning out the garage this summer, or we have to have a garage sale. Get those things on paper now so that you can put them on the calendar. Because when you wrap your head around a big project and in 2 weeks, we're cleaning out the garage, the whole family's doing it, you can gear everybody up. But if you just keep thinking, oh yeah, this summer I got to clean the garage, it's just going to keep getting put off and put off and put off until you hope for the chance that you actually feel like doing such a horrendous task. So put down, your kids have a bucket list, and then you have a bucket list, or goal setting, or however you want to do your own list. So that's step one, is to get everything on paper. That includes too looking into camps, all those papers that you've been getting, gather all those up and have all that in one spot. I saw campfire, garage sale, outdoor movie nights, barbecues. Those are all great things. Those are so fun. And that's what we love about summer. So planning ahead, you actually get to do some of the things so you don't end up at the end of summer saying, oh yeah, we never did that. Because we had mentioned before that sometimes you get caught up in work, or you get caught up in doing the things you're doing over the summer, and then at the end of August you're cramming in all the things that you promised your kids you would do that you kept putting off and putting off. So ideally it's great to space those things out throughout the summer. Weekly library trips, we do that as well, and we go to the different libraries throughout our library system, like a library tour throughout the summer. And the library, you guys, if you want time to yourself, go to the library and let your kids get a bunch of materials. That afternoon, you could book yourself cleaning out the garage or doing a business launch or whatever you need to do, because we let each of our kids get a movie and then some kind of audio book and then a certain amount of actual physical books. But that afternoon, they're all reading or watching their movie or whatever they got from the library. It's a huge, huge saver. I love it. All right, so step number 2 is to plan your overall schedule. I am old school that I like to print out a calendar for June, July, and August and lay them all out. Target had those really, I think I have it right here, the really huge ones, and they were like $3, and they're pretty too. So I like to write everything out so that I can see it in one place, and then I add things onto my phone calendar. So what you want to do is take your 3 months and write down any weddings you have to go to, camps for the kids, orthodontist appointments, and get all of those one-time things on your calendar so that your whole month, I'm not going to schedule a visit, or we're not going to go to the zoo on this Friday because grandma's coming to stay with us for 3 days and I need that day cleared for cleaning. So maybe I'm going to find play dates for the kids that day. So the more you get on your calendar that has to be there anyway, you can kind of get a feel for what freedom you have and where you can plan some of your outings and fun activities or work things. So that was number 2. So far we had to plan ahead, get everybody's bucket list, write down your goals. Number 2 was to plan your overall schedule for the summer for all 3 months. Then what I always do is I plan a weekly schedule. My weekly schedule is who works when, what days do the kids usually, if they have a job, what day do they work, what day do we have, we always go to the library the same morning of the week so that my kids know when it is, and the beauty is then our books aren't overdue because we know every Thursday morning we're going to the library, then we can gather everything up and return everything at once so we don't have fines, even though it still seems like we have. We actually rent our books, I say. We don't borrow them because I have a fine every single time. It's those darn movies. They are, every time they get me. I need to put up a family calendar. Yes, Jennifer. Even though I do use my cell phone calendar, I love to have I didn't have one for a long time and then I just started it again. And with older kids, it's beautiful because you can be like, hey, it was on the calendar. We all can see it. It's in a prominent place. So I personally like to have both. It is more work. But in the summer, I like it because things aren't as routine. All right, so the third one was to plan your weekly schedule. I go as far as writing down dinner for the night. So every week, I know that this night is my husband's night off. So we actually get carry out because it's something, it feels a little different, something fun. Another night, they always have a certain activity at night, so I always do a crock pot meal that night. So if I know ahead of time that Wednesday night's crock pot night, it just makes it easier for me when I'm grocery shopping or earlier in the day. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, it's crock pot night. And it just makes things a little smoother. And obviously that's not, written in stone, things change. Some weeks are different than other weeks, but I like to have a general plan for each week. And for me, it helps with the kids. They know this day's library day. Friday might be our outing day. So all week, they're not begging me all week to do something because we know on Friday is our outing. Also, the other big thing is to figure out, and I have a lot of resources for this that I can help you with, but figure out what your kids are going to be doing while you're doing your projects. So if you are having a garage sale, don't just wing it and be like, oh, the kids will help and go to the library ahead of time and get some extra movies so that they have something to do while strangers are coming up on your driveway and they're not just out there. Or plan ahead that they're going to be selling lemonade. It gives you more control and more power knowing that you have a plan in place, and then you are not as anxious leading into grandma coming for 3 days. There's a lot to do to get ready for a house guest. And so if you're just winging it and you have a super busy week that week, it's just going to make everyone else more stressful. So I really advise planning ahead for those kind of things. But having your kid, knowing what your kids are going to be doing before that time comes, especially if you work from home and you're planning Facebook Lives or client calls, it really helps knowing that those are every Monday, and while I'm doing that, my child is doing summer centers or my child is doing their daily activity list. We have, I have a couple different resources I can share with you. Krista says, I've started only planning 2 cooked meals a week. Between leftover sandwiches, going out, we're wasting so much food. I totally agree. And we have, on Friday nights, we have dinner and a movie, and we call it buffet night. And the kids are in charge, and they find all the leftovers in our pantry, in our fridge. So we might have 4 random chicken nuggets. They heat everything up, they make a salad, and we put it out on our counter, And then we put a movie on and we have buffet night and movie night. And that's every Friday night. And so the kids look forward to it. We clean out the pantry. And it's just, and then we use one of our library movies that we picked out that everybody agreed on for the movie for movie night, or we go to Redbox. I have this that I'm going to give a link to it in this post. It's a free printable. It's a work at home mom, and you don't have to be a work at home mom to do this, but it's a school agers summer activity list. And there's about 75 ideas. And I give this to my kids, and they each have one on a clipboard. And throughout the summer, if they say they're bored, I say, go check your list. And it's just all things that kids, like when, you know, my summer of the 80s when I was little, these are all the things we did. But sometimes nowadays kids need just a little push on, you know, you gotta go do something else sometimes other than just screen time. And screen time's a whole nother conversation that we can have in the summer. Because that is another struggle. So what questions do you guys have, or what ideas do you guys have for summer? Any other questions? I know I talk fast and kind of ramble through all this stuff, but if anybody has questions, feel free to post. I can always go through the comments afterwards too and give you any advice or direct you towards some other resources that are out there online. Pinterest is a great place too to find some other ideas of things you can do with your kids over the summer. But if there's no questions, then thank you, Carrie, for having me. And I will post the link to the free printable. And if you guys need any other printables, I'm happy to do that. Do you have, sorry, it's running away. Do you have meal? Carrie, I can't read yours. And you inspired me to get it all on paper. That's good, because sometimes even like my kids, one year we were totally slacking, and I did have them do the bucket list, and then partway through summer I was like, I got to drag those out because we were kind of running out of ideas, and then we could go back and look at them. So yeah, getting things on paper is huge. And for me, if I don't write it down, I don't remember. All right. Well, everybody have a great rest of your day. It is actually sunny and gorgeous here in Wisconsin. I'm so excited. We've got some yard projects to get started to kind of get our yard back in shape. All right, everybody. Thanks, and we'll see you in the group. Bye-bye.